In the previous episode, Sho emerged victorious after a fierce battle against Takuto, securing the 5th piece of the Platinum Emblem. However, the win came at a cost. Gabu, their loud but loyal friend, was nowhere to be found. As the team celebrated their triumph, Lord Rier's mocking voice echoed through the ruins, revealing that Gabu had been kidnapped and was being held captive at the X Tower in X City. The team's mission immediately shifted from collecting emblem pieces to rescuing Gabu. As they prepared to leave, a new complication arose. Kyoichi, to everyone's shock, announced that he had urgent business to attend to and couldn't join them on the mission to X City. Though he promised to meet them later at the tower, his sudden departure raised more questions than answers. Why couldn't he be part of the rescue? And what was he hiding? The tension among the group grew, but they couldn't afford to waste time. With Gabu's life on the line and Kyoichi's mysterious absence hanging over them, Sho stepped up as the leader. Determined not to lose their friend, he urged Makoto, Ayumu and Kakeru to stay focused. Together, they followed the secret passage Kyoichi had discovered, making their way to X City. The path ahead was uncertain, and the threat of Lord Rier's dark schemes loomed large. But Sho and his friends were resolved to face whatever awaited them, in order to rescue Gabu and uncover the full extent of the danger they were about to confront. The stakes had never been higher, and they knew the real battle had just begun. Episode 6, Rescue Gabu and Unveiling Secrets.
A throbbing headache pulsed behind Gabu's eyes as he stirred. Disoriented, he blinked away blurry vision, taking in the sterile, metallic confines of the room. Cold dread tightened his chest. Chains, heavy and cold, bound his ankles to a steel platform bolted to the floor. Panic rising, Gabu tried to remember. The frantic race, Sho's worried shouts, then nothing. A blank. His trusty Bloody Fang, his customized mountain bike, was gone. Fear, acrid and sharp, clawed at his throat. "Oh, what is this place?" Gabu croaked, his voice hoarse. "What happened?" A disembodied voice, laced with amusement, echoed from hidden speakers. "Hello, kid. Finally awake." Gabu spun around, searching for the source of the voice. "Who's there? Come out!" A chilling laugh filled the room. "Ha ha ha, not so easily, kid. I know your friends will be coming." "Where is my Bloody Fang?" Gabu demanded, anger battling the rising fear. "Oh, you're the MTB? It's safe here with me," the voice taunted. "Ha ha ha, you'll see soon how powerful I am." Gabu slammed his fists against the platform, the metallic clang a hollow echo in the vast emptiness. "Let me go! You won't get away with this." The voice remained unfazed. "Oh, I think I already have, kiddo. This little game has just begun." A tense silence descended, broken only by Gabu's ragged breaths. The silence gnawed at him, worse than any taunts. He pictured Sho and the others, their faces etched with worry as they raced to find him. A surge of determination flared through him. He wouldn't let them down. He wouldn't let Takuto win. Gabu strained against the chains, futile but a defiance nonetheless. He closed his eyes, focusing on the familiar warmth in his chest, the spark of courage passed down through generations. He wouldn't break. He'd find a way out. He had to. Suddenly, a faint whirring sound reached his ears. A panel on the far wall hissed open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. A figure, cloaked in shadow, stepped through, a cruel smile twisting their features. Well, the figure drawled, a glint of malice in their unseen eyes. "The little hero awakens." Gabu's heart hammered against his ribs. He had no idea who this was, but a primal sense of danger washed over him. This wasn't just about Takuto anymore. This was bigger. "Who are you?" Gabu growled, forcing a semblance of bravado. The figure tilted their head, a slow, chilling smile spreading across their shadowed face. "Someone who enjoys a good game," they purred. "And you, my dear Gabu, are just a pawn." A wave of dizziness washed over Gabu. This was bad. This was very bad. He had to warn Sho. He had to get out of here. But the figure was already advancing, their cloaked forms swallowing the last sliver of light in the room. The scene cuts away from Gabu's stark confinement to the heart of the X Tower. A vast, circular chamber bathed in an ominous red glow stretches before us. In its center, two figures shrouded in identical black cloaks stand facing each other. "They're coming," the first figure rasped, his voice distorted by a voice modulator. Sho and his little band of misfits, just as planned. The second figure, taller and broader, chuckled a deep, rumbling sound. Excellent, Wolf. Let them come. It'll be a pleasure to finally crush that boy's spirit and claim his precious platinum emblem. Jackal, Wolf acknowledged with a curt nod. See to it that the boy remains uncomfortable, but don't break him. We need him as bait. Jackal's laugh echoed in the chamber, devoid of humor. Consider it done, Wolf. Sho will face not only his friend's peril, but also the loss of his precious symbol of power. It'll be a delightful test. Their conversation ended. Both figures fell silent, their cloaked forms casting imposing shadows on the red-lit floor. Back in the sterile chamber, Gabu, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and defiance, muttered under his breath. All right, Sho. Now it's all on you. Please hurry. Get me out of here. The camera lingers on Gabu's strained face, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. Hope flickers in his eyes, a testament to his unwavering faith in his friend. The scene fades to black, leaving the fate of Gabu and the outcome of Sho's daring rescue operation hanging in the balance. The midday sun beat down on the desolate streets of X City. Dust devils danced across the cracked asphalt, swirling with the remnants of what once seemed a bustling metropolis. Sho Yamato, his brow furrowed in concentration, marched purposefully towards the imposing X Tower that dominated the distant skyline. Beside him, his friends Kakeru, Makoto, and Ayumu kept pace, a mix of apprehension and determination etched on their faces. It's strange, Kakeru muttered, kicking a loose pebble down the road. This city always used to be so alive. Where'd everyone go? Makoto, usually the carefree one of the group, chimed in with a worried frown. Yeah, I remember there always being people around, vendors selling snacks, kids playing. Now it feels like a ghost town. Sho ignored their concerns, his mind fixated on one singular goal, rescuing Gabumon from the clutches of Shadow X, the enigmatic organization threatening their world. He glanced briefly at his friends, their unwavering support a flicker of warmth amidst the cold uncertainty. Stay alert, everyone, he spoke, his voice hardened with resolve. Shadow X could be watching our every move. We don't know what dangers await us at the X Tower. A chorus of yes echoed in response. Kakeru, ever the optimist, grinned. Don't worry, Sho. We've faced tough opponents before. Together, we'll get Gabumon back and put a stop to Shadow X's schemes. Ayumu, the quiet strategist, tightened her grip on the handle of her weapon. High atop the X Tower, bathed in the cool shade cast by a towering antenna, two figures materialized from the shadows. One, a cloaked figure whose face remained obscured by darkness, emanated an aura of cold power. The other, clad in a sleek black uniform with the insignia of Shadow X emblazoned on his chest, bowed low before his cloaked master. Sir, the uniformed man spoke, his voice laced with a hint of nervousness. They are approaching. Sho Yamato and his companions are nearing the base of the tower. The cloaked figure remained silent for a moment, his gaze focused on a monitor, displaying a live feed of Sho and his friends making their way steadily towards the tower. A faint, humorless smile played on his lips, barely visible beneath the shroud. Let them come, he finally spoke, his voice a low rumble that echoed ominously within the chamber. I have been anticipating their arrival. They've caused enough trouble. It's time to settle this, definitively. The uniformed man straightened up, a flicker of excitement replacing his earlier apprehension. As you command, sir. We've prepared everything for their reception. A cruel glint flickered in the cloaked figure's unseen eyes. Excellent. Make them regret ever setting foot in X City. Let them witness the true power of Shadow X. The two figures exchanged a silent nod, a sense of impending doom hanging heavy in the air. Below, on the streets of X City, Sho and his friends remained oblivious to the malevolent forces awaiting them within the X Tower. The imposing X Tower loomed closer, casting a long shadow across the desolate streets. Sho scrutinized the structure, a furrow creasing his brow. According to intel, he muttered, we were supposed to meet someone here, under the tower, but there's no one around. Just as the words left his lips, a guttural laugh echoed through the air. A figure clad in a sleek black uniform materialized atop a nearby rooftop, perched atop a mountain bike. With a practiced flick of his wrist, he adjusted his helmet and launched himself off the building, landing with a dramatic flourish right in front of Sho and his team. Startled by the sudden appearance, Sho and his friends instinctively fell into fighting stances. The rider let out another booming laugh, the sound bouncing off the deserted buildings. "Sho Yamato!" he bellowed, his voice distorted by the helmet. "I've been waiting for this little reunion." Sho narrowed his eyes, instantly recognizing the emblem emblazoned on the rider's uniform, the insignia of Shadow X. "So you're affiliated with that shadowy organization," he stated coolly, assessing the situation. The rider tilted his head back, his laughter morphing into a series of cackles. "Sharp as ever, Yamato, but your little team of friends isn't enough to stop me. What I want is your precious platinum emblem, and I'll go to any lengths to claim it." Realization dawned on Sho's face. This was a deliberate challenge, a test before they could reach their friend. "Where's Yuta?" he demanded, his voice laced with steel. "Your goons snatched him." The rider chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Ayumu, Kakeru, and Makoto's spines. "Ah, that little troublemaker from your bunch? Don't worry, he's unharmed. But there's a catch." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You hand over your fancy emblem, and I'll tell you exactly where he's stashed." Kakeru couldn't contain his anger. "That's not how this works. You can't just kidnap someone and hold them hostage." The rider threw his head back and roared with laughter once more. "Oh, but sweetheart," he mocked, "in my world, I decide what's right and wrong." He slammed his fist against his handlebars, the metallic clang echoing in the tense silence. "So, Yamato, are you willing to play ball?" The air crackled with tension. Sho stared at the rider, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. He wouldn't let this extortionist bully him. He had a plan, a daring one, that could turn the tables on Shadow X and ensure Yuta's safety, but it would require a calculated risk and the unwavering support of his friends. Sho locked eyes with the Shadow X rider, a cold fire burning in his gaze. "Fine," he declared, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You want the emblem? Then face me in an Idaten battle." The rider threw his head back in a booming laugh. "So eager to lose, Yamato? Very well, if that's how you want to play it." A cruel glint flickered in his eyes. "Here's the deal. Win and you get the location of your precious friend. Lose and you hand over both the emblem and your friend's freedom. Permanently." Sho understood the gravity of the situation. It was a high-stakes gamble, but he wouldn't hesitate. Gabumon was their friend, their teammate, and Sho wouldn't abandon him. "I accept your challenge," he stated, a steely resolve hardening his features. Makoto, ever the worrier, voiced his concern. "Sho, be careful. This could be a trap." Sho turned to his friend, his voice resolute. "There's no other choice, Makoto. Saving Gabumon comes first. He's one of us." The rider chuckled, a sinister sound that grated on their nerves. "Oh, to add to the excitement," he said, reaching into his pocket and retrieving a remote control. With a click of a button, a large billboard screen on a nearby building flickered to life. The image that materialized sent a jolt of horror through the group. There, chained and bound, stood Gabumon, his eyes wide with fear. "Surprise, Yamato!" the rider cackled. "There's a little twist to our little game. See, your friend's holding cell is rigged with a bomb. It's set to detonate in 1 hour." He leaned forward, his voice dripping with amusement. "The clock is ticking, Sho Yamato. The fate of your friend rests entirely in your hands." "Ah!" Kakeru slammed his fist against the wall in frustration. "This isn't fair. He'll die in the explosion." Makoto's eyes widened in terror. "Sho, you have to save Gabumon at any cost." The rider straightened up, a cruel smile plastered on his face. "The time for talk is over. Let the Idaten battle begin." Sho stood face to face with the Shadow X rider, the weight of Gabumon's life pressing down on him. He knew this wouldn't be an ordinary battle. It was a desperate race against time, a fight for survival. With a determined glint in his eyes, Sho readied himself for the challenge. He had to win, not just for the emblem, but for his friend's life. The battle lines were drawn, the stakes impossibly high. The fate of Gabumon hung in the balance. The Shadow X rider grinned at Sho. All right, Yamato, the rules are simple. We race to the top of the X Tower. Whoever gets there first wins. A glint of determination flickered in Sho's eyes. I raced Gabu Samajima up this tower once before. It won't be a problem. He remembered the exhilarating challenge, the rush of adrenaline as they pushed their machines to the limit. This time, however, the stakes were far higher. They both approached their Idaten drive launchers, sleek, futuristic vehicles designed for high-speed vertical racing. Kakeru, ever the tech-savvy one, gave Sho a thumbs up. Sho, I upgraded your tires for better grip on the tower's walls. Be careful out there. Thanks, dude, Sho acknowledged, a grateful smile tugging at his lips. He needed all the edge he could get. The rider revved his engine, a smug smile plastered on his face. First to the top wins, Sho. Good luck. Ha! With a determined shout, Sho roared, "Fire up, Flame Kaiser!" Flames erupted from his Idaten drive launcher, mirroring the burning resolve in his heart. Just like the burning flames in my heart, burn it up into red-hot flames. In a burst of fire and speed, both Sho and the rider launched themselves into the X Tower, the metallic monolith scraping against their vehicles. The course inside was a labyrinth of twisting corridors and sheer drops, a grueling test of both man and machine. The rider proved to be a formidable opponent, maneuvering his Idaten drive launcher with practiced ease. Sho gritted his teeth, impressed by the rider's skill. "This guy's good," he muttered under his breath. The rider cackled, his voice echoing through the confined space. "This is it, Sho Yamato! You'll never defeat me!" They were neck and neck, pushing their machines to the absolute limit. The air crackled with tension as neither rider yielded an inch. It was a deadlock, a high-speed stalemate with Gabu's life hanging in the balance. Sho knew he had to find a way to break through, to outmaneuver the skilled rider and reach the top first. Time was running out, and with it, Gabu's chance of survival. The Shadow X rider cursed under his breath. "Those two bumbling fools," he muttered, glaring at the empty platform where the other riders had fallen. Sho, fueled by a desperate hope, maintained his position right behind the rider. The air whipped past them as they raced along the precarious walkway. "All right, time to end this, Sho Yamato," the rider declared, a manic glint in his eyes. He suddenly launched himself into a daring jump, boosting his Idaten drive launcher over Sho's bike in an attempt to gain a decisive lead. Caught off guard by the reckless maneuver, Sho lost his balance. He cried out as his mountain bike tipped over the edge, sending him plummeting towards the ground below. His friends down on the street watched in horror as Sho tumbled through the air, his bike spinning wildly beside him. "This is it!" the rider cackled, his laughter echoing as he continued his ascent. Just as Sho braced himself for impact, a blur of blue and white shot past him. A powerful hand reached out, catching him and his bike firmly. With a surge of electricity, they were gently deposited back onto the walkway. Sho gasped, his vision momentarily blurred. As his eyes cleared, he stared into the grinning face of Kyoichi, his old rival. "Looks like someone was about to take a nasty tumble," Kyoichi quipped, a hint of amusement in his voice. Relief washed over Sho. "Kyoichi? You?" he stammered, barely able to believe his eyes. "Thank me later," Kyoichi interrupted, a determined glint in his eyes. "But your opponent's already made significant progress. We need to catch up, fast." Down on the street, Kakeru, Makoto, and Ayumu let out a collective cheer, their faces etched with relief. Sho had been saved at the last minute by the unexpected arrival of Kyoichi. The tide seemed to be turning, but the race against time was far from over. The fate of Gabu Samajima still hung in the balance. Would Sho and Kyoichi be able to overcome the Shadow X rider and reach the top of the X Tower in time? Sho's heart hammered in his chest as he gazed up at the top of the X Tower. The Shadow X rider was just a few strides away from victory, his laugh echoing down the metal walkway. Despair threatened to engulf Sho, but Kyoichi's words echoed in his mind. A real Idaten rider never loses hope. "He's right," Sho muttered, determination flickering in his eyes. "There still has to be a way." Sho scanned the remaining path, his analytical mind kicking in. He noticed a slight change in the walkway's construction. a series of metal struts extending outwards from the main structure, creating a sort of skeletal framework along the outer wall. A daring plan took root in his mind. "Kyoichi, I think I know what to do," he exclaimed, a surge of excitement replacing his earlier despair. Kyoichi raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the sudden turn of events. Sho quickly explained his idea, a risky maneuver that would require all his skill and a touch of luck. Kyoichi, ever the competitor, grinned. "Sho, that's crazy, but it just might work." With a steely resolve, Sho positioned his Flame Kaiser at the edge of the walkway. Taking a deep breath, he shouted, "For Gabu, for all of us." Flames erupted from his bike, bathing the scene in an orange glow. Then, with a powerful bunny hop, Sho launched himself and his bike not forward, but upwards. The Flame Kaiser utilized the struts as makeshift ramps, allowing Sho to defy gravity and literally run along the outer wall of the X-Tower. The Shadow X Rider, nearing the top, turned around in disbelief as a streak of fire and metal shot past him. He roared in frustration, unable to comprehend how Sho had pulled off such an audacious maneuver. Fueled by his determination and the cheers of his friends echoing from below, Sho pushed himself to the limit. Every ounce of his strength, every ounce of his skill went into this final push. Finally, with a burst of energy, Sho surged past the final strut and onto the top platform of the X-Tower, smoke billowing from his overheated machine. Silence descended for a moment, broken only by the ragged gasps of Sho. The rider, defeated and fuming, collapsed on the walkway a few meters below. Then, as the smoke cleared, Sho raised his fist in triumph. He had done it. He had beaten the odds and won the race. A wave of relief washed over him as he saw his friends erupt in cheers below. Kyoichi, a proud smile on his face, landed beside him. "I knew you would win, Sho," Kyoichi said, clapping him on the back. "You never cease to amaze me." Sho let out a shaky laugh, the adrenaline slowly draining from his system. He had won the race, but the greater challenge, saving Gabu, still lay ahead. With newfound determination, he turned towards the control panel at the center of the platform. He had little time. He had to disarm the bomb and save his friend. The victory cry still hung in the air as Sho stormed towards the defeated Shadow X Rider. His voice, hoarse with exertion, rang out across the rooftop. "Where is Gabu? Tell me!" The rider, a mixture of anger and grudging respect flickering in his eyes, chuckled darkly. "You won, Sho Yamato. As promised, I'll tell you. Your friend is inside that pillar room." He pointed towards a cylindrical structure at the far end of the platform. "But there's a catch. The bomb only has a few seconds left." With a mocking laugh, the rider did a backflip off the edge of the X-Tower. A sleek black wingsuit unfurled, catching the wind as he soared away. Just then, Kyoichi materialized beside Sho, his Thunder Emperor MTB kicking up sparks with its sudden arrival. "Sho, what's going on? Are you all right?" Sho's face was grim. "No, Kyoichi. There's no time. Gabu's trapped in that room with a bomb about to explode." Kyoichi's eyes widened in shock. "A bomb? But how?" "We need to get him out," Sho interrupted, desperation fueling his voice. "But the door is locked." Kyoichi scanned the room, his gaze settling on the reinforced pillar structure. An idea sparked in his eyes. "Sho, stand back!" He took a deep breath and channeled his Idaten energy. Roar, Thunder Emperor! Like a bolt of lightning, pierced through the entire universe. With a deafening crackle of electricity, a bolt of pure energy surged from Kyoichi's bike towards the pillar room. The metallic door didn't stand a chance, vaporizing in a shower of sparks. The smoke cleared, revealing a dark hallway. Inside, propped against the wall, stood a familiar mountain bike, Bloody Fang. Relief washed over Sho momentarily, but it was quickly replaced by a renewed sense of urgency. "That's Gabu's bike!" he exclaimed. "He must be inside!" Kyoichi nodded grimly. "Sho, hurry! We don't have much time left." "Kyoichi," Sho said, his voice tense. "Can you take Bloody Fang out of here? I need to find Gabu." Kyoichi gave him a curt nod. "All right, get going. I'll get this out of here." Without wasting another second, Sho sprinted down the dimly lit hallway. the ticking of an unseen clock echoing in his ears. He had to find Gabu, and he had to find him fast. Time was running out. Adrenaline pumping through his veins, Sho raced down the narrow hallway. Every turn, every twist seemed like an eternity. Finally, he reached a heavy metal door, the only barrier separating him from Gabu. Despair threatened to engulf him. How could he break through such a sturdy door in time? Just then, a memory surfaced. An image of Gabu using a special technique during a previous race. Taking a deep breath, Sho focused his Idaten energy, channeling it into his fist. With a mighty yell, he slammed his fist against the door. To his surprise, the metal buckled under the force, the door groaning open with a mechanical shriek. Inside the cramped room, Gabu was bound by thick chains, his face pale but resolute. Relief flooded Sho's system as his eyes met his friend's. "Gabu!" he cried, rushing towards him. "Sho! Finally!" Gabu rasped, a weak smile breaking through his fear. "I knew you'd come, friend." Sho wasted no time. With trembling fingers, he fumbled with the locks, finally freeing Gabu from his bonds. "Thanks, Sho," Gabu wheezed, his voice hoarse. "I owe you one." Sho glanced at the timer on the wall. His blood ran cold. It read 15 seconds. "Oh no, Gabu! Hold on tight!" he shouted, urgency lacing his voice. Gabu, understanding the gravity of the situation, scrambled onto the back of Sho's flame geyser. Sho gripped the handlebars, his muscles screaming in protest. "Get ready for a wild ride!" he yelled, channeling all his remaining energy into his bite. With a desperate roar, Sho launched himself and Gabu off the platform. He didn't attempt to use the walkway. It would take too long. Instead, he executed a high bunny hop, propelling himself and his friend over the edge of the X Tower. Below them, the ground rushed up to meet them. There was a deafening explosion just as Sho cleared the top of the structure. Debris rained down around them, the shockwave sending shivers down their spines. But they were alive. Sho landed on the street with a bone-jarring impact, the force knocking the wind out of him. Gabu tumbled off the bike, landing with a pained groan. Sho's friends, who had watched with a mixture of fear and hope, rushed towards them. Relief and joy flooded their faces as they realized their friends were safe. Relief washed over the group as they huddled together, the adrenaline slowly fading. Gabu, wincing from the after effects of his ordeal, leaned against Sho. "Sho, thanks again for everything," he said, his voice raspy. "You're a true friend." Sho smiled weakly. "We all look out for each other. That's what teammates do." Suddenly, Gabu's eyes narrowed. "Speaking of looking out, I overheard those guys before they jumped you. They were talking about some kind of secret passage near the X Tower. Apparently, there are people trapped down below who might know more about what's going on." Kakeru's eyes widened. "Trapped people? We have to help them." Makoto chimed in, her voice laced with concern. "But what about the passage? Is it safe?" Kyoichi, ever the observant one, spoke up. "Actually, I think I saw a hidden entrance earlier near the base of the X Tower. It was well concealed, but if Gabu heard them talking about it..." A spark of hope ignited in Sho's eyes. "Then maybe that's where we need to go. They might have information about the Shadow X and their plans." The rest of the team nodded in agreement. The threat from the Shadow X rider was still out there, and they wouldn't rest until they understood their motives and put a stop to their schemes. With newfound determination, they followed Kyoichi as he led them towards the base of the X Tower. The once vibrant cityscape lay in ruins around them, a stark reminder of the battle that had just transpired. Reaching a secluded corner, Kyoichi pointed to a barely noticeable crack in the building's facade. "There," he said, his voice hushed. "That's the entrance. It's barely noticeable, but if you know where to look." Sho approached the crack, his hand hovering over the rough surface. "Is it safe? What if it collapses?" Kyoichi shrugged. "There's only one way to find out, but we'll go together. Whatever awaits us down there, we'll face it as a team."